Greetings and love to the earthly mother. Love, all praise and worship to the Heavenly Father, the angels, big bro. Much love to the tribes, Japheths, Hamites, and Shemites. Notice I said tribes and not races. Don't hate. Read this for yourself. Don't believe me. Give love, mercy, compassion, and kindness today in your heart with wisdom. Let's get started. I just wanted to show y'all these books first. These are some of the books we use. The Apocrypha, Hallelujah, Scriptures, Babylon, and Timber. This is just a few in our library. But let's get started. Mixing Laws 1. We're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 17 in these next two segments, which will be Mixing Laws 1 and Mixing Laws 2. But before we go to that law, you have to understand this. The Most High in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 18 through 22, he loves the stranger, which is the foreigner. Just like we were strangers and foreigners in Egypt, and he loved us. And that includes the fatherless and widows, and it also includes Isaiah chapter 58, go read it, and Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 through 46, where it talks about helping others who are hurting, are in trouble, and being kind and compassionate. With the Proverbs chapter 3, verse 12, love that delightfully corrects. In the Proverbs chapter 10, verse 12, love that covers a person's sins and faults, and a multitude of sins and faults. So remember, guys, the law is in the grace period, just like your deferred college loan, which you ain't got to pay quite yet, but you're going to have to pay it before too long or they're going to come after you. So we're in that type of grace period where it says in St. John chapter 1, verse 17, Moses brought the law, but grace came by a big bro. And in Romans chapter 1 and 5, he says, through Paul, we have received that grace. So we can't be stoning people and cursing people out and tripping and killing folks because they sinning, because we sin too. So ain't nobody throwing stones and rocks at us. So people got a grace period to get right. But time is running out, y'all. So hurry up and get right. So now, going to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 17. Verse 10 of Deuteronomy 21, you are permitted to have a foreign, strange wife. But in verse 11 of Deuteronomy 21, before you make her your wife, which is sexing her, and we'll explain that. We'll explain the sexing part, marrying you. In verse 12 of Deuteronomy 21, bring her to your house. Hint, hint. You got to have a house. If you ain't got a house, you can't carry out this law. So you bring it to your house. You got to shave her head and pare her nails, which I know that's going to be a problem for a lot of women because, you like weaves and doing things to your hair, and you got to shave it, and you pare your nails, get your nails done. You got to pare them. So the way you get past that is just get into the truth and don't be foreign or a strange person to the laws of truth and love of the Most High. So now, verse 13 of Deuteronomy 21, she got to get rid of the foreign and strange clothing. You know that non-modest or hoe apparel? Just being honest, it says it right here. You got to get rid of it. It's that clothing that reveals private prints of your body. That, just like you're naked, but you got something on, but we can still see the prints and the grooves and curves. Okay. She got to mourn her father and mother for 1 month, not turning back in your house. Hint, hint, your house. So she got to leave those pagan practices and idol worship ways of, her culture. And doesn't mean she can't go witness and plant seeds to her family and be a light and truth to them. But she can't go back to that foolishness. And so, which leads us, when you have humbled her like that and she has been converted and changed, then, men, you can consummate her, husband up, sexually penetrate her to become one. And that is precepted in Genesis chapter 2, verse 23 and verse 24. It becomes the Most High's ordained marriage, which states she has become bone of your bones, flesh of your flesh, because the rib that was taken out of you to create her has been rejoined to you through intimacy, sex. And in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, a man will leave his mother, father, and cleave to his wife. Cleaving meaning sex. And they two become one flesh. That means flesh has to physically join, two fleshes have to join to become one flesh. And also, his semen with white blood cells mixes with her semen secretion that has white blood cells. That's the blood covenant designed to stamp that binds a man and woman together as one, the uniting of blood, which connection of penetration, oneness, makes it all happen. Okay, so back to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 17. In verse 14 of Deuteronomy chapter 21, if you have no delight in her, that means if you want to get rid of your wife. It doesn't mean do a Malachi chapter 2, verse 14 in dealing with her treacherously. But it means closer to the apocryphal book of Sirach, chapter 25, verse 26. If she goes not in the way you would have her go, cut her off from your flesh and give her a bill of divorcement. Let her go where she wills. We'll discuss bill of divorcement in the next segment. There's something to that. So now, letting her go where she wills, which is also precepted in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15. If the unbelieving depart, they want to get out of here, say, I'm gone, I don't want it no more. Let them depart. A brother and sister is not under bondage in such cases. The Most High has called us to peace. He wants you to have peace. And by bondage, it means mental, emotional, verbal, and physical abuse. And presumptuously knowing and understanding the truth, but being defiant to the Most High, which is covered in the laws of ignorance and presumption. In Numbers chapter 15, verse 22 through 41, ignorance grants you mercy in the law, but be careful, because in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, which is letting ignorance have its way with you too long. And then you're gone. You can't get it right. So, back to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 10 through 17. Verse 14 of Deuteronomy chapter 21, you must be peaceable if there is a breakup in your marriage. Because she went through the humbling process back up in verse 12 and verse 13 of Deuteronomy 21, or she was already in the truth. Something just happened. You guys want to go your separate ways, and it is what it is. So remember, bondage in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15 means abuse, or knowing and understanding the truth, but defying the Most High by not living in that truth. This ends this segment. We'll start Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 15 through 17 in the next, and that's going to get into some mixing, which deals with multiple wives, polygyny. So get ready. It's getting hot. Much love to the tribes. Remember to study past and present history and left out and removed books of the Bible like I showed you before this segment started, before the information age as we know it is no more. Much love to the tribes. To be continued.